So, how do we use nutrition to level up performance focus, concentration, and ultimately lessen deductions? Here's what I think all gymnasts need. Number one, we have to make sure they're eating enough. And this often isn't something that you can just look at. Like, this is something that we analyze one on one in session. And I'll say in a lot of initial consults, it's very apparent that the gymnast is not eating enough just based on what they tell us they're eating and kind of the quick mental math that we do. Sometimes I'm not sure though. And so, based on other clinical symptoms, based on injury history, I might have the gymnast food journal for a couple days, or on the spot, I might throw it into my nutrition analysis software just to kind of see where we're at and where that gap is, because it only takes like missing a small snack to start seeing negative things happen. It's not just about eating enough, but also eating the right foods at the right time. And once we've nailed those two things, then we absolutely can up our game with increasing the fruits and veggies, the healthy fats, the nutrient dense foods, the anti-inflammatories, all of the things that, parents want right now. Like, that's how they think their gymnast needs to be eating. But you can't have that until we're first eating enough if you want to be healthy and succeed. Sometimes gymnasts need labs, not always, but sometimes. And that's where we can really supplement strategically. I'm very judicious when it comes to supplements. It drives me bonkers when parents are asking other parents in the Facebook groups what supplements their gymnasts are on or what their gymnast needs. That's crazy. That's like asking someone like, what medications are you on? And oh, maybe I should take those, right? Um, we always try to get it from food. Sometimes we can't, or sometimes we need more than what we can get from food. But you have to be careful because not all supplements are high quality. Definitely a problem in the elite in the college world. A lot of supplements are just a waste of your money and making expensive pee. But we like to look at labs. We like to correlate it with food analysis, maybe some in-depth mineral analysis, and then we'll be really strategic about what we supplement if we need to. I think all gymnasts need what I call a performance nutrition strategy. So pre, intra, post workout, that is what is going to help level up their performance, their focus, and their recovery. And that can be the difference between crushing the competition versus not. But you can't have that without the basics. And so I know a lot of you are like, well, what should I give my gymnast at practice for more energy? The bigger question is your gymnast fueling properly going into the workout? Because yes, intra workout carbs are great. I give you a little snippet of what that looks like inside the workbook if you've looked at that. But usually we have bigger problems going on that need to be addressed. Same thing with recovery nutrition. It drives me crazy when, gymnasts who are super injured, they'll see a sports dietitian one time and they'll be told, oh, you need to drink chocolate milk post workout because that's great for recovery. And I'm like, chocolate milk post workout isn't going to fix the fact she's had 4 stress fractures in 2 years because she's massively underfueled and not getting a period. Okay. Love me some chocolate milk. Absolutely adore it. Recommend all the time. But that post workout strategy is such a small part of the bigger picture. So we really have to have all the pieces at play. The other thing I think is just creating healthy habits for life that gymnasts can do themselves. And as I shared with you yesterday, at least in the older gymnast session, college is a doozy. I mean, I have clients who I have worked with for years that absolutely own their nutrition. They know what they're doing. Mom really doesn't do a whole lot. And they've gone to college and freshman semester, they have struggled hard, not because they don't know what to eat, but because of the crazy schedule and logistics. And so getting your gymnast in the kitchen starts now. Helping them understand what the food groups are starts now. Helping them understand, what a performance plate is, what an adequate meal is, what a balanced snack is, how to finagle the timing. That is something that they need to be involved now. And I have like 9-year-olds who can tell us like what a carb is, what a protein is, and they'll actually tell their moms. They'll be like, Mom, excuse me, there is not enough carbs on this plate. And I'm like, you go, girl. That's right. Because one day you're going to be away from mom, right? And you're not going to have someone who can make your plate. And so you've got to be able to own that for yourself. And for some of your gymnasts, that's sooner than others, right? I mean, we have young gymnasts that, they do 2-a-day workouts. They're at the gym by themselves all day and no one's monitoring what they're eating. We've got, elite track gymnasts going to Devo camp and also unsupervised in terms of no one standing over them, making sure that they're eating enough, right? We've got elite gymnasts going on international assignments where, newsflash, their parents aren't with them in terms of every meal and snack. And so they're in charge of it. And so, I had a conversation with the girl with the shin splints from a couple years ago, who's now training elite, she was such an extreme picky eater. That's actually how she found us. And we had a conversation, I think last year, where I was like, hey, kid, if you're going to go back to the elite camp, we have to eat some more foods. Like, we have to be able to eat rice. We have to be able to eat tortilla chips. We have to be able to eat a sandwich, because when you go to camp for a couple days, the food is what the food is. And you don't have a driver's license. You're, at the hotel with the chaperones. Like, we have to expand our horizons if you want to stay fueled and perform your best. And it's been really cool. She's really bought into that and has just continued to do super well. The other thing that your gymnast needs is a flexible fueling plan. And this is kind of a quick snippet of what that might look like. We teach our gymnasts the performance plate methods, often 3 meals, couple snacks. We layer on a performance nutrition strategy depending on the workout, how intense it is, how long it is. Some gymnasts need a bedtime snack, others maybe don't. But this is something that we like to go super in depth on with your gymnast. So nothing cookie cutter over here, but very custom to what your gymnast needs. Once we have that nailed down, a lot of that we're just going to control alt copy to competition day. And so that's why I told you guys yesterday, we weren't going to spend this whole time talking about what restaurant to eat the night before the meet and what kind of breakfast to have the day before the meet, because none of that matters if your kid is not doing the right things the other 364 days of the year. And I would say the only difference between normal nutrition and comp nutrition is probably the timing, the logistics, and then maybe a little bit of intra competition versus intra workout, but maybe even not. So, all that to say, I know most of you have a whole lot of other stuff that we need to work on, and that's okay. So what does this look like? For us, we start with in-depth analysis. We first start with growth and development. We have to know, where are we currently and where are we going? Are we growing and developing, or are we not? And if we are not, then we need to catch up. And that's a lot of nutrition that we got to start working on ASAP. What's happening with injury history? What's happening with medical history? If we have had a whole slew of overuse injuries, we're probably underfueled. Or if we have certain medical conditions like celiac or multiple food allergies, we're probably missing certain nutrients in our diet. We might even be missing bigger things, not enough carbs or protein or whatever, because sometimes the allergies make it really difficult. We then go through things like labs, medication, supplements, maybe in-depth mineral analysis, very detailed into training history. That tells us a lot about what's happening in the gym, right? Are we moving through the levels? Are we getting stuck? Do we now have a bunch of mental blocks? Are we held back because of not enough strength on a certain event? We also ask gymnasts, tell me what you're doing. Vault bars, beam floor. What are you doing? How's it going? And all of that clues us into little things about their nutrition, about their growth, about their fueling that we can fix. We go in depth into current fueling. What does that look like? What does your school and gym schedule look like? How far is everything from everything? Who's picking you up? Really, to have a full picture of how do we create a fueling plan that meets what you need. And then a big part is habits, preferences, struggles, right? Because it's one thing to know what to do, it's a whole another thing to execute it. And I'm not perfect. I hate nutrition. It's been a big goal of mine the last 6 months to eat breakfast every day. I'm happy to report that I'm doing really well and I feel really good because of it. But it's hard. It's really truly a daily choice. I could definitely just drink coffee and not have lunch until it's time for lunch. And that can be a real problem, especially if I have clients back to back. I'll end up with a horrible headache. I just won't feel good. My brain will be foggy. And it's been worth it. And so, I even have my own dietitian that I work with, even though I am a dietitian, right? Shouldn't I know all the things? Of course not. Just because you're a coach or just because you're a dietitian, right, doesn't mean you have all your poop in a group, so to speak. And so definitely the same with your gymnast. All of this allows us to create a sustainable, repeatable fueling plan that works anywhere, anytime. When my gymnasts go to college, they know how to build a performance plate. They might struggle with the logistics because they literally don't have time to eat lunch because class ends at 12:40 and practice starts at 1 o'clock and class is over here and the gym is over here and athlete dining is over here. Those are things that we work through. We pack a lunch, we eat it in class, like we figure it out. So it's not that they don't know what to eat, but then it's just kind of working through the little details. Same thing with our gymnasts. it's one thing to know what to do. It's another thing as a parent to tell them what to do. But we often have to work through picky eating or finicky eating, poor appetite, low volume eaters, crazy schedules and logistics around practice, around school, maybe just lack of motivation, which might actually be coming from the underfueling, maybe nerves, maybe anxiety. And so lots of things that we need to work in there to help this be something your gymnast can actually do. And then we got to keep following up because it's not just about knowing what to do, then having a plan, but we're going to need to troubleshoot. And sometimes you don't know what we need to work on until we actually work on it, right? And so this is why it's not just a one and done. And it's even, after we work with gymnasts for a really concentrated time period, a lot of them, like, we're still not done. We might be able to space their follow ups out and let them kind of cruise for a little bit, some of them more frequently than others, but your gymnast is growing. She's developing. We're in season, we're out of season, we're hurt, we're healthy, right? So many different variables that require us to kind of tweak things as needed. A lot of our gymnasts stay lifelong clients, and maybe they check in with us twice a year. Maybe they check in with us 4 times a year. It's really, really amazing to see them fly solo and continue to just crush it with fueling and to stay healthy. And I think I told you guys this, yesterday. I'm like, look, if I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume that everything's fine. So if you're struggling in any way, I need you to come back to me and let's check back in and at least make sure there's nothing going on nutritionally. And it might be something else, right? We might be injured because something weird mechanical is going on, or we might be injured because it was just a freak accident, or we might be struggling with this skill because it's just really hard, or maybe we just need it said in a different way. But let's at least rule out the nutrition piece because it's only going to help you if that's something that we can use to optimize everything else you're doing.